What's up, guys? Welcome to Creating 2019, and I am super excited to dive into this really juicy topic of owning our birthright, which is abundance, which is freedom, and how important it is for us to really understand that the context of money, the context of freedom begins with you stepping in and owning your abundance, which is your birthright. With my amazing soul sister and friend, who's a women's empowerment coach, who is such a badass at what she does, and she integrates a lot of holistic learning, and she's just really amazing. She's one of those souls that is really walking the talk and living what she teaches. Hey, Adrian. Hey, Blake. All right, she is on. I'm going to pull her up in just a second. But I wanted to touch on something that is really important for me to address. I know that we can get caught up in what we need to do and how we need to show up. And I got a lot of feedback on, Michelle, you got the My Little Pony in the background and you need to be more presentable and more. That's not what I'm here to do, guys. I'm not here to sell you perfect. I'm not here to sell you presentation. I'm here to be the space and container of powerful conversations, real and raw. And what you see is what you get. So I really wanted to stress that. The other thing that I want to also point out is that when we're up to things, what's up, Christopher? What's going on? When we're up to things, our mind can start messing with us and start placing these expectations of how we need to continuously show up and we can't turn off or else people will lose people's attention. But it's so important, guys, to really honor your boundaries. And a lot of times we look at boundaries from the negative contrast, right? Like keeping the contrast away, honoring our boundaries where people are not takers and blah, blah, blah. However, boundaries are a result of putting in practice your values. And I'm going to go into that talk in a whole separate conversation. But what I want to emphasize is that it's so important to also put boundaries around your business so that you can enjoy the time and foster the relationships and foster the context that you are creating. This is my work. This is my life's work. So whether I'm making 1 million, 3 million, 10 million, you will see me be me as me. This is what and who I am. And I'm continuously evolving. But I'm not here to over glamorize or over posture myself in any way. I'm here to just be the space for spirit to flow through us and to create real and raw conversations. So with that being said, let me bring my girl on. And I'm so excited to jam on this conversation because birthright of abundance and creating the space for this higher intelligence to guide us.
Hi, Mama. How are you?
You have headphones?
I do. I got them ready. Let's see. Is there an echo already? Okay. I knew I was going to need them.
Yes.
Hi. How are you? I'm great, honey. How are you?
What's up, Marissa? Raquel? Awesome. I jumped on. I introduced you very briefly. However, I want you to introduce us and grace us with who you are, what you do, what you're about.
Okay, great. I am so glad to be here. And as always, love spending time with you, even if it's in this forum. And I'm happy to be here. I am an empowerment and mindset coach for mom and entrepreneurs, so mompreneurs, and I help them with the struggle of the juggle. So it's interesting you brought up boundaries because that is a constant ebb and flow as a mom, as an entrepreneur, as you know. So, doing that juggle constantly and where do we draw that line and where do we draw that abundance? And so I really help them to find a way to own who they are and really come to accepting who they are and how they want to show up in their business. So it's kind of falling right in line with what you just brought up, and
So good.
you have to be you, So for me, you know, as an example, the afternoon is like my kid time. It's my time with them. That's where I'm going to be. And a lot of the stuff that I do and the work that I do, people want to do it in the afternoon, you know, and it's just a hard no because I'm present with my children, you know, and that's first and foremost. So,
And I love that you're bringing that up because I remember us having a conversation maybe a year ago at this
mhm,
point, but I said to you, you know, you have something that women want.
mhm.
You have the beautiful family, the husband, the loving, like she literally has like the poster family, okay? And it's beautiful, and I don't think that we highlight that enough
Mhm,
in our work,
mhm.
that these are like this is the gold.
Right.
This is what it's all for.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's so important. I'm glad you're bringing that up because as whether you have children or not, it really is about first and foremost getting super clear and owning who you are, you know, owning your impact. And what does that mean for you? So, you know, I'm going to be a little sarcastic and, you know,
Right.
punchy, you know, because that's me, you know, that's who I am. And you know, so people are going to hear me or they're not going to hear me, you know. And it's funny that you say that my life is like this perfect thing because, you know, I really created that by design. I mean, I was very intentional when I started off. So just to give your audience a little bit more information, I've been an acupuncturist for 20 years, over 20 years. And that's been, I've
She's amazing. Good.
And so that's really kind of been built into my framework of working with energy. What does that mean? What does that look like? You know, and how it shows up in our body, how it shows up in our mind, you know, our emotional body.
We lost the audio. We lost the audio. What's going on? Maybe try unhooking it and hooking it back in. Can you hear me? No. Ah, let's see. Let's see. Again, technical difficulties. It's gonna be a good one, that's for sure. Every time it happens. No? All right. Okay. Can you guys hear me? Let me know for those of you online. Can you guys still hear me? Give me a thumbs up, some hearts if you can hear me. Let's see. Can you guys hear me? Let me get some. No? Brianna, can you hear me? Let me know if you guys can hear me. We're having some technical difficulties. Yes, okay. Let me bring Michelle back on. Awesome. Technical difficulties, but it's gonna be a good one, that's for sure. Let's see.
Hi.
There we go. So yeah, you were saying about being an acupuncturist and understanding the energies.
Mhm. And how that plays really, you know, that plays into our physical body, our emotional, and our spiritual life, you know. So, how does that show up for people and getting people to recognize the importance of that? And so, I know that's where I was, but I can't remember where I was going. So, where do we,
It's okay.
yeah,
So let's move on.
yeah,
So your topic really like pinged me. The whole really owning our
hmm,
abundance. Abundance is all there
yep,
is, right? And then we make up all the bullshit, and that's when scarcity, the illusion of scarcity, comes trickling in, and it can be really, it can be very real for people, which I totally understand. But owning our abundance, let's dive on that for a bit.
yeah, okay. So that's something that's come up for me recently, and that's like about the boundary thing that you were talking about, and really owning abundance in a way, especially for moms and especially for women, I think, you know, and if there's men out there watching this, please put your input there too, because I think that it's more difficult for women to be abundant and not feel guilt and also how to ask, what is the ask for yourself, and to own that. So for some women that may look like having a nanny, 5 days a week. For some women that means that they want their house cleaned so they don't have to touch a dish, and there's this whole guilt piece in doing that. And so it's sort of like shoved under the rug in this weird shame thing, whereas no man would, a traditional man would not have to then explain why they were doing that. It's an acceptance. There's an acceptance in that. And so taking on abundance in that way, how can I be abundantly supported as a woman? And how does that look like? And how does that feel like for me, so that I don't have aching back pain because I'm managing my family life, I'm managing my business, and PS, what about me? So that's where I think, that's where I'm standing in this place to help women get to see how important that is, and yes, we all say the sayings like, put your oxygen mask on first. And I'll tell you, that one used to always trigger me, because she used to trigger the shit out of me, because I was like, there is no way, if a plane's going down, I am not putting that on my kid first. Okay. So you got to come up with another example. And the one that sat with me better was Joanna Hunter in the book Get Selfish. She had this vision of this fountain, and how this fountain was dry and completely, there was no water in it. And how in this meditation she had, it started to fill up, and there was 3 different tiers to it. So in the first tier filled up, and then the second tier filled up, and then the next tier filled up, and the top tier, and then it started to overflow, and it overflowed out of the fountain onto the grass and allowed the grass to grow. So here was this beautiful fountain overflowing this abundance, and then actually nurturing the grass and the children that came to drink out of the fountain. And that resonated with me much better, because that was like, I can do that. I can learn how to fill my fountain up to the point that it's overflowing, and will then nourish everything around me, including my children. Yeah. So
what do you feel are some of the I guess, like, the obstacles, or what are the things in the way? And I feel like it's all in the mindset,
mm-hmm.
that is in the way of really experiencing that abundance.
What's in the way?
Yeah, what do you feel are some of the things that women come against?
I think one of the biggest things is the feeling bad for asking for that, because then you'll be a bad mom. That's a big one, because then you're not showing up as the traditional sense. You're not showing up in the traditional way that women and mothers do, but that's an old paradigm that we've accepted for a very long time. And now there's this movement of changing that. And like, what does that really look like? And where's the individuation in it that's okay and acceptable? So it may look slightly different for other people, everybody, it's going to look different for everyone. And how does that look? And is that acceptable? Is that enough? So I think that's one big piece. And then I think the other one would definitely be the comparisonitis, that, would you post to this morning, the Instagram? It was a good one. What did you say? I loved it.
Don't be insta fooled
Mm-hmm.
with these broke coaches and
Right.
single as fuck coaches.
Right. So like, I love that, because I was like, don't be insta fooled. It's great. Like, don't be insta fooled that, this life that looks a certain way, that, by the way, you are making a judgment on. That person might be writing a really nice post that's actually, opening up about what is going on for them, and where they are having, some breakdowns or some, challenges coming up.
I think in my experience, I've seen a lot of coaches that are struggling in their business
Mm-hmm.
sell dreams.
Yeah.
And for me, it's all an integrity conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you listen, stick to what you know, stick to what you're having results in.
Mm-hmm.
That's really what that post was about. And I think there's a lot of coaches that are not.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen coaches go into life coaching, and then because they know business coaching gives more money, they go into business coaching,
Mm-hmm.
but they don't even have the successful business yet, right? So for me, it's like, stick to what you know, stick to what you're creating results, and then evolve into what you're moving on to. But to sell a story, to sell the dream through curated photos and not really reveal the heart aches,
Mm-hmm.
these struggles, and you know it,
Mm-hmm.
you've been in this game for a bit. It takes work.
Yeah, real
You
work.
have to have a stomach to be any kind of entrepreneur, not just a
Yeah.
coach. To be any kind of entrepreneur, you have to have the stomach, because there are days when shit's gonna hit the fan and you're gonna have to move through it, and you're gonna have to
Yep. And show up
big,
anyway.
big girl
Yeah.
pants.
Big girl panties up. Yeah, for sure. For sure. So yeah, this abundance piece was just really calling to me, like I said, because how to be abundantly supported, that we can all ask that question, and really step into, how do I own feeling abundant in every part of my life? And that's not money per se, that's abundance, that feeling of being supported, being taken care of by your partner, being taken care of by your friends, how you, sorry about that.
No, when that happens, we lose the audio. Not sure what happened. All right, we're gonna have to do it over again. Sorry. Bring her back on. Something's happening where her audio is being knocked out. So thank you so much for hanging on. Let me bring her back on.
Sorry.
There we go.
Every time it goes on, someone comes through, it turns it off for some reason.
Yeah.
Um,
No. So you were talking about the abundance piece.
Yeah, and just how we need to be able to ask. So that's the second piece of the abundance is, letting go of the guilt and surrendering to who you are. And then the other thing is the ask, like, what does that look like for you? And how to ask for it, and how to be okay with the asking for it. A lot of times I think we have an expectation, with our partner, well, you should know what I need because, you should just know. You should know, right? And I think that's another thing, is being able to ask for the support and the abundance that is required of you, to feel abundant and to be okay with that ask and ask for that support.
Let me ask you a question. In terms of the asking,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm right there with you. Like, we get to request, we get to ask for the support we need, we get to ask the universe, our
Mm-hmm.
source, for what we want. Right? Sometimes we're so busy playing God in our bubble, and I see that in a lot of people, and myself included at times. Do you think the being willing to receive comes before the asking?
Um, that's an interesting question, right? Hmm.
Because sometimes we can ask,
Mm-hmm.
but because we're not willing to receive, because we're so set in our ways, we block the mother effing
Right.
blessings,
Right. This is true. Right. Yeah. It's like the chicken or the egg thing, though. I think
Right.
and it's also contingent on like what it is you're searching for. So I think it's one of those things that you could get, ask. And if you feel like you're not receiving it, then you got to go to the receive side and say,
Mm.
what am I not willing to receive right now? What is that about? Why am I not open to accepting that abundance? What part of me is feeling so scarce and so lack that I can't accept that? In whatever form it looks like, so there also is that judgment of like what it has to look like.
Right. Right. So, because we're asking, and then we have our eyes set on how it needs to look, how it needs to come, and yet you're being like bum rushed with blessings this way in
Yep.
all different other forms, but we're not even seeing it.
No.
That's such a good point. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I loved when I've been asking every speaker every morning, like, what is most present in your heart? And I loved your response. I had 5 interviews, girl, and I got 5 very different
I'm
responses, which
sure.
is so awesome.
Right.
But yours was really about creating space for this beautiful intelligence to flow and guide us, and
Hmm.
like really honoring that. Let's talk about that because I think that's so powerful.
Oh my God, that has been transformative for my last, at least my last quarter in 2018, but probably the last 6 months. I mean, it's been going on, but where I really got it and got clear and really like opened up to, all right, let me see what this feels like in my bones, was really just allowing. And I'll give a small example and then I can
Please.
give you a big one. But so, for example, tech, always bothers me, and I used to get really irritated. Like, it's supposed to work. Why isn't it working? And that's kind of where I would go. Like, how can Facebook let this happen? Whatever. So, I would get into that whole story and really get triggered and just get frustrated. And as I jumped on this entrepreneurial journey online, obviously tech is going to be a major player in this. And how does that show up? So, I would get frustrated because I would have a task that I expected and wanted to get done for the day. And let's say, something, I'm just going to make it easy, making a post, and for whatever reason, the picture I wanted to go with it wouldn't work and it wouldn't download and wouldn't go to the post that I had written. And so at one point in 2018, probably halfway through, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to see what happens when this comes up. If I just say, okay, universe, what do you want me to do next? And I would really connect in, tap in. And a lot of times it would not be what I wanted to do. It would be something else. I would hear to do something else. Whether it was like go record a meditation or something like that. And so I started to allow that to happen and I started to surrender in when I had an agenda of something that I had to complete. Whereas before it would be like, I'm not going to get it done. And then if I don't get it done today, then I'm not going to get it done. And, I have to get it done because I'm the only one running my business. Um, so as I started to surrender to those moments and really tune into what was on my heart in that moment, I started to hear different things and I started to move in that direction. And I all of a sudden felt like I was being carried by this energy, by this stream, by a bigger picture, something bigger than what I had determined that I needed to do. And all of a sudden it started to feel better. I started to feel better inside. I started to feel like, hey, it doesn't have to be so hard. Life doesn't have to be so difficult. I don't have to get in the trenches and fight everybody and fight everything. I can actually allow this to happen and see what comes up. And I've been so pleasantly surprised that it's now morphed and turned into, oh my God, I get to see what shows up for me. This is so cool. Like this is so amazing. I get to see what I can create in my life that may not look exactly like I had originally planned. And so that surrendering and that allowing has really taken on a whole new beat, a whole new level for myself.
What would you say to people that are like massive controllers,
Control
coming
freaks.
from like it has to look this way or
Right.
else it's not perfect, and a lot of the, I would even dare say that a lot of the perfectionist
Mm-hmm.
is in that controller mode, right? That,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, for
What
sure.
would you say to these
Oh
people?
my gosh. That's,
I was one
I
of them,
know,
guys.
right? Right here. That is such a great question. I say really open, like be open to just playing with it. One of the most powerful energies that we have available to us is looking at joy and fun and play. Like, okay, you know what? It's not going my way. It's not going the way I originally planned. What else is there for me? What else? And how can I have fun with this? How can I play with this? I think that was the beginning of me asking questions because it was almost really just like I had to put my hands up and just be like, okay, I don't know what's going on. So I think that's the first thing. You have to admit that. I may not know what everything that's going on.
Yes.
And I'm going to be okay. I'm going to be supported. Okay, and let's play with this. Let's see what you got. Let's see what shows up. Because I think as a perfectionist and control freaks tend to be doers. And that's what makes us feel powerful. That's what makes us feel strong. And so the doing part of it is really does have to come there, but I think you need to go through those 3 steps first.
I love that. I love that. So let's recap those steps. I don't know.
Yeah. Except that
I'm okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm fully supported.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see what shows up. So 4 steps. Let's see what shows up. Right?
Yeah. Let's see. And let's play with this.
Play with this.
How can I play with this, and have more fun with this piece?
Yeah. And a lot of controllers, myself included in the past, we sacrifice a lot of fun
Mm-hmm.
and play because we're so fucking attached to the result and the expectation of how it needs to look.
Yep.
And how it needs to land. And I think it's so important for us to like get back to our essence. Like my essence is all play, and you know me, like
Mm-hmm.
I'm all play, I'm all like in the moment, and I'm also about my work too.
Yeah.
This is my life's work.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm fully devoted to this, but there has to be this balance that makes it feel good for you moment to moment. Mm-hmm. Versus a fucking race that you're like at the end depleted and feeling like the biggest martyr in the world because you haven't taken time to replenish.
Yeah, it's the burnout, and it's the yin and the yang, so it's the yin and the yang, it's the male and the female, it's the masculine and divine feminine. And how do we honor both of those and live in it and be able to go in and out? So I'll always love the yin yang symbol, because it's one is part of the other is part of the other, and it goes around and, goes around, and they exist within each other. And so just keeping that visual is always so important. Like, yes, I can do both and be successful or, get my shit done, and it starts to go with ease and grace and flow.
Yes. What tips can you give to our audience in terms of like listening, honoring the divine feminine and honoring the masculine? This is one of my favorite practices. Yeah. I do this every morning. Yeah. I love it. It has been a total game changer for me. But I want to hear from you. What are some of your tidbits? And I'll share mine after you.
Oh, for morning ritual or just connecting into the divine?
Yeah, connecting into it and really strengthening that connection.
So, I meditate every day. And then I also, so at the end of my meditation, I always go into the Holy Trinity, like I go into what do I need to see today? And I wait to listen to see what comes up, what do I need to feel today? And what do I need to speak today? And so I go through that cycle every morning, and just whatever I allow, whatever needs to come up and through me. And I'll be very honest. Sometimes I hear my male guides and sometimes I hear my female guides. So it is really interesting, and I'm just paying attention more and more. And then because I have that strong masculine side, like you do, like we both do, I do have to have my do. So then I do this, I do a verbal gratitude practice that I just started to the last couple of months that is really, I know, I love it. So I take my phone and I do voice notes and I have my magical morning gratitude. And I'll say, today I was so happy. So I talk about the present today, what I want to see happen, and I did such a great job on my interview. And I go through the whole thing as if it's already happened. And then I also do future gratitude. So what I also see in the future for myself. So it's a current daily and then a future. And then I list 3 to 5 things that I'm grateful for. But it's all verbal so that you can hear it, because that's the cool thing. I've gone back and listened to myself, and it's really interesting hearing yourself talk to yourself about what you want.
I do something similar called Love Notes.
Okay.
But I love that. In terms of my divine masculine and my divine feminine practice, I'll wake up and I'll still stay cozy in my bed, like I'm still in it,
Mm-hmm.
and I will literally ask myself after I do my prayer. So I do a very similar prayer that you do after your meditation. I'll say, God, Spirit, Father, Mother, Spirit, think through me, speak through me, feel through me, guide my words, my thoughts, my actions.
Mm-hmm.
And then I ask my divine feminine, okay, how do we want to feel today?
Mm.
And then
Love
I go
that.
into my divine masculine, okay, great. How do we get to honor that feeling? What do we need to do to create that feeling today? And every day it fluctuates
Mm-hmm.
for me. Every day
Yep.
she wants something else, he wants to do something. Because for me, the divine masculine is all about honoring the divine feminine.
Mm-hmm.
He That energy is all about short term providing, creating for her to sustain, to thrive. And then the divine feminine is for me like this playful, just expansive source of magic, and she's just here to play.
Mm-hmm.
She just
I
wants to
love that.
feel in her totality.
I love it.
Yeah,
That's
that's
awesome.
beautiful, Mama.
Yeah.
So I ask, well, I want to ask you one more question before I go into my last.
Okay.
So, what do you think now that we're like transitioning? Everybody's on this 2019, we're
Yeah.
gonna kill it,
Yeah.
right? What do you feel was one of your biggest lessons of 2018?
I think the surrender piece was a big piece for me, because that was like my other big example, as I'm getting older and, my children are getting older. And it's one of these things that my husband and I keep talking about, and it's interesting to watch yourself get older, or age through your children. It's very, because I don't feel
Because you look gorgeous. You look like an Amazon goddess. Okay, go ahead.
I know about Amazon because I'm too short, but um, but yeah, it's really fascinating, and you can really easily go into, oh, that sucks, and the like sort of the negative spiral. But I'm really trying to embrace and just allow, like, that's why it was a big surrender. It's nothing I can do about, like, I have zero control over that. It's going to happen, and I get to choose how I want to embrace and surrender to this. So, one of the commitments was to be very healthy and just my eating and what I put into my body. And also just I get to be present with my kids, when through their transition and through, it's not like an end point. There's no, like, it's not like they're 18 and I'm not going to talk to them anymore. They're
Right.
they're going to have different transitions, and I get to be there. I get to witness that. I get to take part in that. And so it was really just a surrender into the negative thing that I think we can all attach to aging, and really saying, like, how can I create a different story? How can I make this a better story for myself? Because I like to go up to who's the best I can be, How can I show up as the best I can be? And I was very intentional about how we raised our children to get to them to see to this next chapter of being teens, because my youngest one just turned 11. So like now we're in the tween,
Awesome.
yeah, like tween and teenager stage. So, I get to be with them as they navigate what it means to be an adult. What does that look like? What do you do when you're put in front of, when the kids, oh my God, I can't think of the word.
Bullies?
Yeah, no, what?
I was like, bullies?
No, not bullies. Like, when they all say, "Come on, let's do it." What's
Peer
word?
pressure.
Thank you. Peer pressure. I blanked on the word. Yeah, so like I get to navigate with them what that looks like. All the peer pressure things that come up. Like, what are you going to do? What do you choose to do? We have discussions about it. What does that feel like for you? What do you feel like in your body? Where do you know that you feel it? So having these questions with them to get, and like I see it as like I get to teach them how to figure that shit out at a young age, because they're still in my house and they're still listen to me, and even though they're teenagers, they're still gonna, like, maybe they go like, whatever, but I know they hear me, I know it's gonna make a difference.
And it will.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've heard from a really one of my husband's best friends. They called them the Buddha babies because
Okay. Yeah.
his parents were
Mm-hmm.
Buddhist and chanted before he was born, so he was like a Buddha baby.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, he told me that his parents would always like say things and he'd be like,
Yeah.
no, no, no. But these were the exact same tools that he turned to when he was going through it.
Yep. Of course.
So
Yeah.
that's so powerful that you're really instilling that at such a young age.
Yeah.
And that's why I love you in the context that you're creating with your family and how you are, it's not separate. It's all one for you,
Mm-hmm.
and it's really showing up in your results.
Thank you.
Um,
Thank you.
my last question, David,
Okay.
that I've been asking all of our speakers is, what are your top 2 to 3 tips on creating an epic year?
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, I love, love, love to really review your previous year. Like you asked me questions, like what was my top lesson? That is my number one thing. Because and reviewing with the with the intention not to berate or feel like shit about anything. Like you are
Right.
not allowed to do that in this like exploration of your
Yeah.
past. Not, I should have done that, or look, I didn't do that, or I didn't. You're like not allowed to do that in that exploration. So review and reflect, it looks like I didn't do blank a lot. What does that mean when I talk about it now? How does that feel for me? Where do I feel it in my body? Am I still stressed? Is my heart, am I clenching? Do I feel tight in my chest area? Do I feel funny in my stomach area? Really tap into like where it's showing up for you and what that looks like for you, because there's probably a reason you're not completing something, and you need to get to dive into that. So I think review and reflect is like my number one, how to create an epic 2019. And then the other one would be really start to infuse what it looks like to have fun every single week. Like every
Yes,
single
every
week.
day.
Every day. I mean, I
Yeah.
was going to say every day. If you can do it every day, but for some people that's like, what are you talking about? Then do it every week, do it, but like shoot for weekly. But if you can do it every day, I mean, holy cow, your world will change. You will start to enjoy life and really ignite that passion, that really is the driving force to you loving your life.
Yes, 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 yes.
Yeah.
And third, is there a third
Oh,
one
is there
in
a
there?
third one? Well, and I think the third one would be really to challenge yourself and to really push yourself in those few areas when you do review and reflect. Like, look at those few areas that maybe you haven't pushed yourself, whether it's travel or it's doing an adventure or it's doing a personal development course or it's, taking the time to do something that's out of your comfort zone and really embrace it as a gift to yourself to push yourself, because I think that's, again, another thing that allows us to have that epic life that we get to create. We do get to create this. This is not a fluke. Like, you don't have to just sit there and wait for your life to happen to you. This is something that you can do for
Not
yourself.
habits.
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope. Never.
I love that I pushed for the third one because that's such a huge one.
Yeah.
The a lot of times we can master certain areas of our life, and because we're excelling in those areas, we tend to lean in those more.
Mm-hmm.
So the health may like deter on the side,
Right.
or relationships can become like stagnant
Mm-hmm.
and shit. Like,
Oh yeah.
we need to start looking at the whole wheel of life
Mm-hmm.
and seeing where we have no movement
Yep.
and where we haven't been putting attention and focus on, and start pouring love and start really fertilizing that ground to create some movement. I think that's so
So I'm going to come
powerful.
up with one more. Now you just
Great.
made. So, and I think do that for couples. Like, I know that, it,
I love
oh my
that.
God, it is the best thing as couples to really review your year together and then to also plan out, you know, and have the dreams and have the fun, you know, like the 10-year plan is like you're really like you're dreaming fun, and you know that's the fun, the dreams, like where are we going to go with our life in 10 years together, and then do 5 and then do 3 and do 1. My husband and I just did that, and it was so epic that he he came back and went, I don't know what you did, but my wheels have not stopped turning since we talked about that. Like, I didn't do anything. We were just talking, you know? Um, so it's really interesting because, you know, like it got his wheels turning, you know, and it got him excited. And he was like, wait, I can actually see something different than what I had originally stated. You know, I think I want to change. He's like, I want to change my answers. Can we do it again? So, you
Yeah,
know, it's really cool to see that, you know, that movement and the energy started to move. So, yeah.
that's so powerful. I'm so happy you brought that up. I think not to downplay the men, because the men have so many amazing gifts, and just to like big up their egos, like you guys are all short-term experts, like you guys know how to execute.
Yep.
You're all about getting shit done, and you get it done.
Mm-hmm.
But women have a very unique gift, which is in the long term, that visionary, that holding space for long term and gathering and bringing people together. I think that's our forte.
Mm-hmm.
Just because we are women, we're the containers. Um, so it's so important to like really spend that time with our spouses or with our lovers
Mm-hmm.
to really get in that same game plan and start dreaming again together.
Yeah.
So
And, you know,
that
it's an energetic too. I think some energies are better at that. And then, you know, and that may look like the man, you know, and
yeah,
in the relationship. So, you know, it's really how you show up together. And then what does that look like? You know,
yeah,
where your strengths and weaknesses and, you know, I hate that word, strengths and places where you need to, you know, look at,
work on.
well, you need
Yeah,
to look at, you know. Yeah. So.
beautiful. Thank you so much for this conversation. I
Yeah.
want to for you to share, what do you have going on? Where can people find you? How can they connect with you?
So I actually have a new program that's like self-taught program because I just think, you know, with everyone's short time frame, and it's an email sequence that, you know, you get for 14 days, and I have Manifesting Maven. So I go into a little bit more about just what it means to manifest. What does that look like? You know, we talked about creation and creating and building something that you really love, you know, your life, building what you want your life to look like. So I have Manifesting Maven. I came up with all these cute names, and Abundance Attractor. And that's another piece I love talking about, and the abundance and just this abundant support. But in that one, we also dive a little deeper into money conversation. And you can find me on Facebook, Michelle Goodman, or you can do Empowered Bliss. And then I also have my website, which is myempoweredbliss.com. And my Instagram handle is @poweredbliss. And I think that's pretty much it. Yeah. So,
We're gonna put your website in the comments
okay.
so people have access to you.
Sweet.
And if you send me the link to your
Okay.
offers, I'll definitely include it in the replay email.
Okay.
Again, thank you so much for
Thank
saying
you.
yes and for joining me on this ride of just sharing, so much wisdom and tips and trades and secrets and perspectives on what it takes to create an epic year.
Yeah, thank you. And thanks so much for having me. I love what you're doing. I love every guest that you've had. I've tried to watch snippets of everybody so far, and it's been so, I just love it. It's so inspiring. And actually, there's been amazing information in there. So if people haven't had a chance to go look at some other ones, they're really good.
Thank you,
All
thank you, thank you.
right. All right.
I honor you. Have a beautiful day.
Okay. All right. Bye, honey.
Welcome through. And there you have it. That was the amazing Michelle Goodman. I'll be posting her links on the comments. And I'm going to start getting ready for our next interview. Our next interview is coming up at 1:20 with the amazing Carrie Zuma, and I'm excited to jam with her. I'll see you guys soon.